And for the European leaders like Merkel and those in Sweden, so horribly naive, ignorant, myopic, and foolish to ignore 1,400 years of the history of Islamic conquest is astounding that the people themselves don't rise up, that they don't see the supremacy of the invaders. Well, that's what's going on. The surreal world of Europe, where Merkel is now invading her own nation in a sort of perverse way, just as Hitler invaded surrounding nations to conquer them, Merkel is invading her own nation to conquer it. She has some kind of thing against the patriarchy, I think, and against Christianity itself. But that's a topic for another time. I guess the topics are interrelated. Dunkirk, capitulation, weak leadership in some way. Let's take some callers on the Savage Nation. The phone number is 855-407-282. I know many of you saw the movie Dunkirk or want to see it. I hope you heard my opening where I described its, let us say, missing links here. The missing links of the film Dunkirk. If you like Batman, you love Dunkirk. If you like action, you love Dunkirk. If you know history, you'll sit there gagging when you don't see one swastika or one mention of the word Nazi or German. It's hard to believe that he would do this. But then again, this is Hollywood today. KSFO, Frank, welcome to the Savage Nation. What's your topic, please?
Good morning, Dr. Savage. I just wanted to share with you that you know already that Poland, Hungary, the Czech Republic, and Slovakia, being under the communist boot for so long after World War II, I can't help but think that that occupation is what helps them or inspires them to resist Islamophobia today.
They're not saying to them the immigrant will assimilate. They're saying you will assimilate to the immigrant. You will bend your knee to them. You will turn your churches into mosques. You will not see the rape epidemic. Otherwise, you will be an evil person who we may arrest. That is called the capitulation, the submission of a nation to the invasion.
It is wrong for Western Europe to do that. They're abandoning their own culture, their own people, their own history. It's shameful.
Right. But for 40 years, the socialists have taught them they have no culture to be proud of. They have taught them basically from the feminist armies to resist the patriarchy of Christian civilization, to spit on Christian civilization, to spit on the church, to spit on the Bible, to denigrate their own culture and their own race, as a matter of fact. And so what do you expect when the boys are now 20 years old and they hate themselves? But to submit to the invaders who have no such qualms about their own history of invasion, etc. How's that for a leadership speech? Right. Do you like it? How do you like my little speech right now? Would you call that a good little speech? Because that's what it was. Thank you for the call. Thank you for the call. This is the Savage Nation. We're talking about the movie Dunkirk and what it means today with regard to the invasion of Europe and of Western civilization, which is in many ways crumbling. If you look at Sweden, where they are using clowns to integrate Muslims, you'll say this can't be. There was a great article in Front Page Magazine by Bruce Bauer, The Surreal World of Sweden's New Migration Policy, Improving Muslim Integration, Sending in the Clowns. And they said what follows is not a joke. They say that thanks to the astronomical cost of feeding, housing, and clothing immigrants who choose not to support themselves, and the equally formidable expense of policing those multiculturally enriched high-crime areas that the authorities haven't already given up on policing, Sweden is bleeding cash. And as a result, there are major cutbacks in outlays for schooling, health care, and the benefits for the elderly of the Swedish people themselves. But nevertheless, the Swedish Migration Board managed to find an unspecified amount of kroner, that's the currency, in the millions, to spend on the services of an organization called Clowns Without Borders, Clowner Utan Gränser, Clowns Without Borders. And they plan to teach Muslims to play their way to better integration. The clowns will be used to integrate non-EU immigrants, which means Muslims and Africans. This is hard to believe. And I'm not being cynical. But this is what's going on in the West. Instead of resisting the invasion, instead of forcing them to assimilate, to their culture, their civilization. They're capitulating through clownishness.